Good morning, everybody. It's really, really good to be here with you guys, and I'm particularly excited about Zoe. And why I'm excited about Zoe is because Zoe just really, really meshes into absolutely everything that this conference is going to pan out to be about, and she fits in so well with everything that I'm going to be speaking about. So before we get into the meat of that, I want to share something with you about myself. I'm a downhill mountain biker. But I haven't mountain biked in about 6 months. And the reason for that is because I moved to Texas, and Texas doesn't have any really high hills, or mountains for that matter. So I looked at the situation and I was like, okay, I'm not going to get my thrill that I usually get from my downhill mountain biking, so I'm going to have to do something else about this. So I decided to take up boxing. So I've been boxing since last year, October. Now, how do I go about choosing the sports that I choose? There's 3 criteria that I apply to the sports. The first one is it has to involve a strategic element. So I need to be able to plan and think about what I'm going to be doing next. The second criteria is that it has to involve an element of the unexpected. So I cannot always be able to predict what's coming next. And the third element is it has to constantly be changing. Now, why do I choose sports like this? Why did I choose mountain biking? Why did I choose boxing? And the reason is because it really, really impacts my day-to-day career. As CEO of a company who is completely and 100% focused on the future of work, and more importantly, customer success, I need to be able to have those 3 key skills: a strategic component, the unexpected, and constant change and constant movement in everything that we do as a company. And so what I find is that when I switch off over weekends and either find myself on a mountain bike or in a boxing ring in the evenings after work, I actually find that those 3 elements constantly feed into my ability to serve my company, to serve my clients, and to serve my team. Because I really believe, and I hypothesize this, that those 3 criteria, being able to constantly adapt to the unexpected, being able to handle constant change, and being able to constantly be thinking strategically a few steps ahead to plan your next move, is ultimately the 3 criteria that are going to define the successful companies that embrace their clients versus those who don't. Why do I say that? I say that because chaos is our new reality. Why do I say that? Why chaos? When we hear the word chaos, we shy away. We don't like the word chaos, particularly not when it comes to customers. We want things to be predictable. We want to be able to understand them. And because we want to be able to predict them, anything related to chaos seems to be very foreign and needing to be removed from anything related to a client. In fact, though, we have a very, very big misunderstanding about what chaos is. If you go and look at the scientific definition of chaos, it's anything but chaotic. It is actually a highly, highly structured system, a network where micro changes are constantly happening. And think about it. In no other area in business is this more true than when it comes to the customer. It's a constantly evolving environment with micro changes. And the sooner we accept this, the sooner we grasp this, and the sooner we realize that not only the future of work, but the future of the customer is a constantly evolving, constantly changing network environment where there's these subtle shifts and we embrace that chaos, we're not really going to be able to embrace our client fully. And so this is what I'm going to be speaking to you about. And so let's look at this. Let's look at this reality of chaos and how it is panning out. Just a few short years ago, people ran companies on very, very simple systems. Okay? There was a huge divide. You had your major ERP systems that used to run your big enterprises, and then every business in between ran themselves and their entire team and their entire company off of an inbox and maybe a Word document here and there, and an Excel spreadsheet. That was the reality of work, okay? Fast forward to now, And all of a sudden, because of the cloud and how it exploded more or less around 2008, 2009, and everything that's happened since then, you now have companies with the capacity to do what huge enterprises were able to do a few short years ago with their ERP systems. But now you have these very specific systems that fit into very specific areas. So you've got a whole plethora of systems just for HR, just for legal, just for the customer, just for marketing, just for sales. And so the average person sitting inside an office on a daily basis is not only dealing with one spreadsheet and a few Word documents and an inbox, they are now literally dealing and interfacing with anything from 20 to 30 systems every single day. This is the new reality of work. And it is chaotic because our brains have not had the ability to evolve in a micro but very fast way to adapt to those changes that have so quickly happened. And so if you fast forward this, okay, the key thing and why customer success has become a thing is because at the end of the day, never mind your employees and never mind your team inside your company, your customer is experiencing that overwhelm. They're experiencing that chaos. And so all of a sudden, the customer is starting to withdraw and detract themselves, and they're saying, I don't want to be involved in this anymore. There's just too much information here. I'm bombarded. I'm overwhelmed. Those are words that are coming out very frequently. People feel that way nowadays. People get home at the end of the day and go, I'm overwhelmed. I've literally got too many tabs open inside my brain. Okay? That is the reality. That chaos is very real. And unless we embrace that, and unless we as customer success specialists and experts realize that that is the reality that our customers are facing every single day, we're not really going to be able to progress in leaps and bounds to be able to serve them the way we should be. So what did we do as a company? Last year, we were having this constant conversation with our clients, and they kept coming to us and saying to us, we are unable to serve our clients optimally because we've gone and we've implemented customer success software. We've implemented systems like Totango. We're working inside these systems, and yet at the end of the day, our customers are not getting us. We're not able to engage deeply enough with them. There's a disconnect, and we can't quite pinpoint where this disconnect is coming from. So myself and my co-founder went and we found a very interesting individual who has basically created her own job title, and what she's called herself is a digital anthropologist. So her main thing that she geeks out on is she looks at how this new chaotic reality that we are moving in, okay, this new digital world, is literally impacting human beings. And she studies that, and she studies those trends and how that's going to impact our future. And we sat down with Lisa Talia and we said to her, we would like you to go out and to do very deep research around what differentiates humans from machines. But very importantly, we don't only want you to do that, because a lot of companies like Adobe have started exploring that, Google is exploring that, there's hundreds of companies out there exploring that topic. That's not new. But once you've gone and you've taken the research that's out there, you've dug into it for us, we want you to then go a level further, and we want to ask you to ask the question, how do we apply it? Okay? So the first layer of research, which perfectly combines with what the likes of the research around Watson, Adobe's research around experience has brought up, is that there's two main things that differentiate humans from machines. And those two things are, first of all, creativity and critical thinking. Okay? And underneath those two primary sets of skills, if you will, are 5 different skill sets that Lisa Talia uncovered. And underneath creativity, the core thing, if you were to look at all 5 of those skill sets, is ultimately our ability to engage and empathize with somebody. Okay? That's the main word that I want you to take away there is. It's our ability to empathize with somebody else on the other end that we're engaging with. And on the critical thinking side, it's our ability to question and actively listen so that we can empathize better. Okay? So, top level, creativity and critical thinking. You unpack that and you go down a little bit deeper, and you look at the core skills that make up those two primary skill sets. It's the ability to empathize, it's the ability to listen, actively take that information in to empathize better. So it becomes a self-serving loop. Okay? And then Lisa went and did the most important part of the research. She went and she said, right, if this is the reality, if machines are taking over the workforce and automating a whole lot of the stuff that's out there, and humans are not going to be doing what humans were doing in the past, what are humans going to be doing in the future? And the research was astounding. And this is where we actually started collaborating with Adobe in their research around the future of experience. And it comes down to customer experiences. Okay? Which is why what Guy shared with us in terms of Totango's mission this morning around the customer becoming an actual cause is so powerful. Because no longer is the customer your route to ROI or your route to revenue, but they actually become an entity, an active entity that needs to be looked after, that needs to be cared for, that needs to be listened to, that needs to be constantly listened to. And so, how do you take that and extrapolate it? It's quite easy, and we're seeing this happening. The whole area of customer success is exploding, and there's a reason for that. Because this is the future of work. This audience, yeah, you, this group of people, is the future of work. This group of people and everything that gets built out of this is going to become the absolute central core part of an organization. It's no longer going to be operations, because bots are going to run that. It's no longer going to be just support, because the bots are going to run that. It's no longer going to be HR and legal and accounting, because the bots are going to run that. But the bot can't talk to the human. It's the customer that's going to live at the absolute heart of the organization. And so, if you look at these new skills that research is pulling up for us and saying to us, this is what the future of work is about, these are the skills that humans need to possess, and you look at your teams inside your companies, when those two start colliding and when those two start merging, that's when you get to a place of happy clients. But the interesting thing is, and the sobering thing about this is, we hear the words creativity and critical thinking, and we hear the words empathy and active listening, and all of those skills, and we dismiss them. Because it's assumed that when somebody goes for a job interview, they do those things. We assume that people know how to do those things. And it's a false assumption. Because think about it, we don't teach that to our kids in schools. We also don't have university courses that address these skills. Nowhere currently online can I go and actively go and find a course that's going to teach me these skills. It doesn't exist. Universities don't offer these things. Okay? You might be able to do a short course, like a 3-hour presentation that you can attend, but it isn't a deeply ingrained thing that is taught to our society and to our children from a very, very, very young age. And so a lot of things are literally going to have to flip on their head inside society, from an educational level, from a governance level, from a what actually defines success level. There's a lot of things that are going to have to change in order for us as a human race to catch up to being able to step into the future, which is a reality. And this is where the chaos all becomes very, very real. And this is where I believe customer success is going to become the driving force inside organizations that's going to make this happen. Because it's not going to come from ops, it's not going to come from finance, and it's not going to come from HR. So what now? How do we make this practical? Because we can't change the university system, we can't change the education system all within a day. But the reality is that business is happening, it is chaotic out there, and we need to serve our clients. And so what I've done for purposes of today's presentation is I've sat back and I went and I actually did a very, very deep study of all of the clients that we serve. So we act as an outsourced customer success company where we enhance and work alongside existing customer success teams inside companies. And so we have a very, very interesting bird's eye view of the industry because we serve so many companies and so many people across multiple industries, okay? And just to give you an idea, we deploy more or less 300 different products on a monthly basis inside our team. So we've got access to some amazing data, okay? And what I did was I went and I sat with my team and I looked at that data and I said, if we look at the client data and the deployments that we are doing as a company, okay, and we look at the feedback that we are getting from clients on a consistent basis, what are the 4 main things that I can bring to you as an audience today and say to you, these are the key things that keep triggering over and over and over. This is the feedback when we work as an outsourced customer success team on behalf of other companies. These are the things that their clients keep feeding back to us and saying, these are the missing things, okay? And so I went and I dug into that data, and the very, very first thing that I want to say to you before I dive into these 4 things is, research proves to us that effective change management, okay, which essentially is the heart of customer success. Because if you think about what customer success is, it's many things, and there's many definitions out there. But at the heart of customer success is taking a client from yeah and progressing them to yeah, to where you want them to be. And that's a process of change that you're taking them through. And it's happening inside a chaotic system. So you're managing change within a chaotic environment, okay? And science very clearly, over and over, across different industries, across different sectors, keeps coming back to 3 core critical factors that make change happen successfully. The first one of those things is that there has to be strong leadership inside there. So there has to be a driving force, okay? Some type of catalyst that pushes things forward. The second key ingredient to change is that there has to be a system or a process that backs it up. So it doesn't help that there's this really powerful leadership or powerful force driving it forward, but nothing to reinforce it. Okay, so a new system or new process has to be embedded alongside that. And then most importantly, the third key thing that tips change towards successfully being embedded is that the individual that's going through the change process has to actually cognitively step out of the change process and understand the process that they're going through. That's the important thing. They can't just be tumbling through it. They have to understand that they are going through it, and they need to understand what those milestones are. Okay. So with that in mind, I dug into these 4 things, like I said to you, and the very interesting thing was these 4 things correlate back to those 3 change ingredients. Okay. So the first thing is clients are constantly feeding back to us and saying to us, I wish the companies that we're working with, okay, whether it's technology companies, whether it's service companies, I wish that they understood me more broadly. Okay? I want them to have an expansive view of who I am. Okay? So what we tend to do is when we are working as a customer success agent or as a VP of customer success inside a company, we become so focused on our ideal client and the solution that we offer to them that we don't understand their broader world. Because we ourselves are navigating the chaos. So we're trying to filter out this noise. So we don't understand the integrations that they have to go through. We don't understand all the other systems that they're having to juggle. Okay? And clients are actively saying, can you please just take a step back and ask me those questions? Empathy, active listening, okay? And this is where we, inside customer success, can take a genuine leadership role, okay? Because this is that number 1 catalyst that's going to make the change start happening, is if you understand your client more broadly. The 4th constant piece of feedback that we're getting is cognitive load management, okay? I've deliberately used that term because that's the scientific term, and if any of you want to actually go, there's a whole science behind this. But basically what this is understanding how your client is literally handling that chaos, okay? So everything that's hitting their brain every single day, how are they managing that? Because if you think about it, if you understand that, if you take the time to understand their cognitive load management process, you will understand where your system sits on their priority ladder, okay? And so one of the key things, it's as simple as saying to a client, can you tell me what are the different systems that you're juggling every single day? And how much time are you actually allocating to our system? Does our system pop up onto your radar in the afternoon? Or is it the first system that you open in the morning? Okay? Simple questions like that to actually understand that ladder that they are having to climb up and down every single day and what's happening inside their brains. Okay? Another key thing about cognitive load management, I'm going to sidestep a little bit here and just share with you guys some interesting research that we've done, is that a lot of people don't understand a very, very simple process that happens inside the brain. Okay? And that is, every single day, we're literally bombarded with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of pieces of information. And your brain has an area called working memory inside of it. And all of that information sits inside working memory and literally builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. It's like a hard drive. Okay? And eventually, it reaches a place of just being totally full. It can't take any more information. And so what working memory does is it literally deletes itself. Cleans the disk. Okay? So a lot of people will openly admit that their memory is not as good as it used to be. And it's got nothing to do with age. It's got nothing to do with the fact that your brain is not as effective as it used to be. It's the pure, simple fact that working memory is fuller than it's ever been. And it's going through more deleting processes than it's ever done before, because it has to clear that space in order to handle more information hitting it. And you need to realize that that is the reality of what your client is facing every day, okay? As quickly as you load them with information, literally within a few minutes, their brain is going to auto-delete that to handle all the next set of information that's coming in, okay? Understand the actual physical processes that's happening inside your client, because it impacts your success. It impacts your ability to serve them. Fourth thing, channel management. This directly ties into everything else. Understand all the different channels that your client is dealing with. Okay? Understand what's hitting them. Understand what's coming at them. And again, coming back to the cognitive load management and understanding the client in an expansive way, understand what those channels are and how they're competing with yours. Okay? Because that comes back to those key change ingredients that I was telling you about. This is the process piece. If you are trying to get your customer to ultimately be successful in your system, okay, or in your service that you are providing to them, you're going to have to understand how you're going to have to rewire their process. And if you don't understand how your process is part of the much bigger process that's happening, you won't be able to do that successfully. And this is a key ingredient in getting them to understand the change process that they are going through. And then this is the piece that ties right back to Zoe. And this is where I get really excited. One of the key feedback points that we're constantly hearing from clients is, I just wish they would talk to me. Just talk. Stop trying to use a script. Stop trying to push a certain angle. Just talk to them. Be human. Empathy, active listening. Building a conversational culture. And this is why, coming back to Zoe, this is what excites me. When Guy shared with me that this is what they would be launching today, is that type of technology, like the technology behind Zoe, is what is going to drive conversational culture. Because no longer are you looking at a client as a number, but you're actually looking at a client holistically. You're starting to understand that expansiveness, that reality of what they deal with. And understanding that and putting them at the center of the conversation and having them as a conversational topic rather than just a number. User X, Y, and Z is doing this inside the system. User X, Y, and Z is not as active this week as what they were 2 weeks ago. What are we going to do about it? No, user X is a mother. She has a child who broke its arm. She spent the last 3 nights in hospital. Hence, she's not using the system the way she really is. That's what Zoe is leading us towards. It's leading us towards a more and more human culture. And the interesting thing, and where we really, really need to stop ourselves and think actively about this is, it feels, with the automation that's happening and all of these different systems that are coming into our lives, that we're actually moving more and more away from the human. But in fact, it's the total opposite. And it's this group of people, the customer success people inside organizations, that are going to drive that agenda. It's the human agenda. We are stepping into an era, and this is what surprises me in many ways, is that people get up on stages and they talk about AI and how it's so terrible. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's amazing. Bring the robots on. Let them replace all those jobs. Because what's going to ultimately happen is we're going to get society to transition to being more human. It's time for us to stop doing the stuff that we shouldn't be doing anymore. It's time for us to get back to creativity. It's time for us to get back to critical thinking and actually engaging and listening to one another and talking about real human things. Because the machines, like Zoe, can do the rest. So, embracing chaos. I've got 2 challenges for you. The future of customer success. This is what Totango want this entire conference to be about. It's the future. It's about going right. Things are established. We now recognize. People take us seriously. There's conferences about this. It is a thing. What now? These are my 2 challenges. This is my first one. We need to lead the charge in terms of actually embracing chaos. Because up until now, work and business has all been about taming it, about organizing things, about getting things into lists and tasks and priorities. It's now about shifting. We literally have to make a huge jump away from all of that mechanical stuff and into embracing the chaos and going, right, we now need to move towards more human-centeredness. Okay? So that's my first challenge here. And then my second challenge is presence. Ultimately, this is what will define the truly, truly successful customer success team from any other customer success team out there. Can you provide your client with presence? You know when you go out on a date with somebody and it literally feels as if they shut the whole world off and it's just you? That's the experience that your client wants and is craving with everything inside of them. They want presence. And if you want to really redefine the way you serve your client, then that is what you should be giving them, is presence. Thank you for your time.